muchachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm PD Rave, and here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my triumvirate. We've got David Majors, aka DJM.
Buenos tacos, muchachos. Welcome to Record Breakers.
Mm-hmm. And all the way at the end, we have Drew Snyder.
Hello. Happy belated Father's Day to some.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is timestamped.
Yes. Happy Daddy's Day and happy Pride Month to all the daddies.
Well, the other thing I was going to say was if anybody has a remote job that they want me to send a resume to for IT work, your boy's available.
This is a family show.
It's Father's Day and it's Pride Month, so shout out to all the daddies out there.
Wildly inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. We're here to talk about music, not be wildly inappropriate. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album, and the provider of the album is David. David, what have you brought for us today?
PD, Record Breakers listeners and fans, I will preface this that I found this album during the recording of our last episode, just because I felt like being a jerk. And I wanted to, during that episode, I stole Drew's gimmick of naming a track, a very specific track. And then I'm going to steal Petey's gimmick. And I found something from the Republic of Korea.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very interesting fusion of Eastern and Western. The band is called, PD, help me out here,
DongYang Gozupa.
And the album,
Kyul.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's talk about expectations. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
I didn't have any besides looking up, I think it was on Bandcamp or something, and having instruments I didn't 100% recognize, but sort of got the vibe of what they probably were. And knowing it was labeled as prog, I was excited to hear some crazy musicianships with cool sounding instruments I don't normally hear. And besides that, I had no expectations because I think that was all of David's expectations as well.
Yeah, I was intrigued, but when David described what he had ascertained from his discovery mission, there a couple of things did come to mind. So I had a little bit of a couple of like thoughts of what it could have touched on or what could have been. It made me think immediately. We're like, you named the current traditional instruments with a modern approach. Made me think of a group that we've talked about on the show that I brought on the show, like Jambinai, who do that in particular. Other group, though, forgive me for bringing in a Japanese band, folks, but it is still an apt connection, though not the same sound at all. But another band I would think of is like something like Wagaki Band, or even something like if people are on TikTok like we are, the Who, HU.
Yes,
where we kind of incorporate Mongolian throat singing and traditional sounds like that. So those, I was thinking, okay, how much is it going to be like those? How much is it going to incorporate? But I wasn't sure exactly, because if you look at the actual like band makeup, you don't see any guitarist, you don't see you only see a bassist, you don't see too much of like modern instrumentation, you only see a percussionist and somebody playing the yangam, which is a Korean dulcimer. So it was interesting how this approach was going to be, but I wasn't sure exactly what to expect, but kind of like I had some things in mind, but we'll see what we got. David, how would you describe this album musically?
when I started looking around for something for this episode, I wanted to do a little bit of something very different while also kind of finding a way to meld it with something that I liked. So when I saw various places describe Kyul as a Korean progressive rock band, I did my little head tilt, like I'm learning some fascinating new information. And what I would describe them as is they're almost like a classic jazz fusion trio, but the lead instrument is the dulcimer instrument, the traditional dulcimer instrument. I cannot pronounce its name. It starts with a Y.
Yangum.
And that is the lead instrument instead of a guitar or a piano or an organ or a synthesizer. So to that end, it does have that connection to something that might be a little more palatable, but it brings in a very unique element that has not been heard played this way with this style and this kind of production before, at least to my ears. And it's instrumental, and you don't feel like you're missing anything because the production is very high end. It's got some great bass moments. The percussion is super tight, and the lead instrument is just a wonderful listen. And this is all really well played.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Dense. For starters, there is a lot going on. All of it great, honestly. All of it was fun. But it's very, very musically dense. There was some like really, really great grooves all over the place. As Deej said, the rhythm section was impeccable. We had rested on it being a Korean hammer dulcimer of sorts. I forget the very technical name, but it was something along those lines. That was awesome. But David said it, like when you have something that can be this dense and this varied, and you can very obviously have parts you need to highlight, it can be difficult to engineer a good mix that makes sure you never feel like you're missing anything, even on the first listen. Like sometimes on records like this, you have to like listen a couple of times to really hear everything, because you kind of have to focus because things can get lost. And I don't feel like I ever got lost here from a sonic standpoint. And that goes to their musicianship and being smart in the studio. It absolutely phenomenally done.
Mm-hmm. This so the hammered dulcimer that we're talking about is the Yangam, and it's like it. If you look it up on Wikipedia, it is like a really fascinating, really cool, like big old mess of strings, and it's credited as being with metal strings, and it's played with like by slapping it or striking it with bamboo sticks, and it creates a very like percussive slappy sound, but that is very pleasant, very cool as the foundation for the sound. The music different to kind of what you get with something like Jambinai. In particular, obviously one of the big differences is that this is going to be completely instrumental, where Jambinai had more vocals involved, incorporated more of a pansori and other things where like those styles of vocals. This save for like one little like sample snippet at the beginning is completely instrumental. And as far as like traditional music, I was looking up and I did a lot of like going through Wikipedia, and I'm not a historian of music. If I were to like, for based on description, and people can correct me, this probably is more connected to something like sanjo, which if you look up the definition of sanjo, means scattered melodies, which I think is like just an apt name for it. Because if there's like this scattering of sounds and scattering of melodies with like really great percussive feel to the sound, really great like mood building, really great like mix to the instrumentations. It is bringing a very like traditional sound, but in kind of like approaching it very like in a very cool way. And as far as for the name, I did look up the meaning of the name. The name is meant to be Eastern High Frequency, and I think that's very. We'll talk about like the songs, but like it's a very apt name as well, because they do have these moments where they get into these like nice frenetic paces that kind of carry you through these like really cool moments, and it doesn't feel like it dwells too much, even though it's like very like very very much a prog approach to a lot of the sounds, but it doesn't
stay too long.
Yeah, it doesn't dull, and I think that's one of the biggest things. It's a very great pace. It slows the pace when it needs to, but it is very great at like incorporating those really cool like sounds, and especially even bringing in a couple of the other guest instrumentations. Yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you to zero in on?
I will do it again. Sorry, Drew, and start with the first track. I cannot pronounce it. But most specifically, at about 4 minutes and 45 seconds of a track that is actually over 6 minutes. That may seem like a long time, but it is worth the wait when it gets there. The song really clicks and it all makes sense. Track 2, Critical Point. I believe this was the single, and it has a genuinely strong groove and some really high level playing, and then there's a tempo change, and it's very, very groovy. Haze, again, another really groovy song. There is, for all of the talk of high level playing and instrumentation and arrangements, there is a lot of grooving going on here. So I think that's something that should be highlighted. Cycle. Really felt like a driving song, when you could really get in your car and go to. There's a moment in track 6, Fever, that almost feels like you're listening to a Tool album, and I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the elements all over the place. I will talk about in my conclusive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So the first one, Ochi Kill Gus, I believe. Am I pronouncing that right?
I don't see it. I was trying to look for like a Hangul version of the name, but I couldn't find. My guess was Oche Gilgus or Oche Gilgut, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Or even if it is Korean, it might even be just a borrowing from another language altogether.
Gotcha. Well, the tone on the bass, I think, set the tone a lot for what I loved about this album. The sort of dark thumping groove that's in there. Critical Point. I did not expect headbanging to the rhythm of a dulcimer of any dulcimer of any type, of any hammered stringed instrument to be a thing that I like found myself doing, but sure enough, there went my head. And then Rust. I love a good, like, whether it's jazz, whether it's prog, any instrumental where there's a very circular hook that you can feel happening, and then you can feel like each instrument start to solo at the rise, and you can like almost ride it like a wave. Love that sort of feel on any song, and having it on Rust, I think, was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys have pretty much heard the key tracks. I think Ocha Gilgos, I wish I could find the Hungary version. I think it starts off really well, like with that like distant calling, that distant pansori style, like vocal calling that you hear at the beginning. It's like the past calling out, and from a void and from your memories. It's really nice, and it just kind of like gets into like a very percussive feel, and then just the bells going in there, and it creates a nice like opening statement. If I would say the track that I would encompass, and it's been touched on, encompasses this album, the sound, is Cycle. I think it's a nice cross section of what you're getting with the group and the band. You'll see it in Cycle, especially with like the pace of it, and the kind of like especially it fits the name High Frequency, the pace of it, the where it gets into like these really nice, just fast paced like instrumentation with the diangam and all the kind of the percussion, like the bass kind of following through it, and it follows really nicely. And I would say Fever offers a nice little cool slow build at the beginning, and like Deej said, kind of all of a sudden almost sounds like a Tool song, like David said, which is just a nice little kind of like moment that'll catch your attention. Let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Well, the thing about this record, like I said, it is very musically dense. This is not in my opinion, it is not an album that you would throw. If you had the aux cord, there's not many cars I think I would throw this onto. But for the people who get it, I think like they will find a lot in here. Like there are sometimes albums where you have to be the right type of person to want to dive into music like we do, or like be a musician or something like that to really get something out of, or else you're like there isn't much for you. Like your Squiggles, your Bretts, like they could throw this on and get something out of it. I don't know if like everybody could. That being said, if you're one of those people, if you think to yourself, oh yeah, no, I love weird instrumentals, I love really dense records, this is a really good one to go to. But really out of left field, obviously, for obvious reasons, as David said, but it was a good time all around, honestly.
Yeah, I think this album is it kind of slots in really nicely as far as like being a nice like modernization of like traditional sounds. So probably a very big reason if you see like their social media and like their feeds, they are often like invited to like events and concert events and things, especially that are like playing classical or playing like traditional sounds and representative sounds and things like that, because they kind of like are making a very, very important cultural history when it comes to like Gugak, which is like the traditional sounds and the traditional styles of music in Korea, and bringing it in a way that like can be accessible especially in a concert setting for people that might be your are modern music nerds at the very least, and want to get into like some music, and maybe as a good step, like because it is dense, it is meaty, it is very cool, very interesting, but there is also very accessible grooves and very accessible sounds. It is not uh it is not like impenetrable. Like, not in the least bit. It may be dense, but it's not like trying to keep you out. It is inviting you in to try to kind of dive into it.
There's a lot to discover.
There's a lot to discover, but it's not trying to keep you out. And I think that's what makes it work really well and is worth checking out. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Where this band succeeds is in the places you would not normally expect a band that falls under the prog genre to fit. It's in the spaces and it's in the groove. They know how to bring atmosphere and style and still have a lot of really strong instrumentation with a lot of groove and enjoyability. And also at moments, they know how to really turn up the pace to being almost frenetic. And it really works. They can cover all sides of the spectrum, and you hear it on this album. And if you are in need of a palate cleanser from your normal listening, if you just want something that is completely removed from what is in your normal periphery, this might be the album for you.
Mm-hmm.
It is a display of terrific musicianship all around, great production, top to bottom, and just doing all wonderful sorts of blending and combining of arts and cultures, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are our thoughts on DongYang Gozupa and their album Kyul. Now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic form with the 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. Drew, what is your haiku?
Oh shit! I gotta bring up my notes again. Delightfully weird with a brilliant genre mix. I'd listen again.
Mm-hmm. My haiku: sound of tradition, weave through with a modern touch, will always intrigue. And David, last but not least, what is your haiku?
Ethereal swing, traditional Eastern with post-prog ambition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are our thoughts on DongYang Gozupa and their album Kyul. You can of course check it out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breaker. It's a home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Also on your YouTube playlist, and also you can check them out over on Bandcamp if you want to buy it digitally, buy them digitally, and support them directly. All kind of different ways. Go check them out. Find them on social media and whatnot. On those playlists, you can of course find next week's album, and it's going to be provided by Drew. Drew, what have you got for us next week?
So this is an album that I have actually been listening to a little bit lately. It got algorithmed to me. Why? Not 100% sure. I think TikTok thinks I'm a lesbian. Get down with them, and they make some fun music. But someone coming out of Missouri, the Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess is going to be my album by Chapel Roan.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew it. I knew like sometime on the last episode, I just a little spark in my head said Drew's gonna bring Chapel Roan.
Yeah, I figured it was gonna happen eventually. It was like, at some point he's gonna bring that album. Like,
weird, moody synth pop is up my alley. Who knew?
We did get an early review from our old friend Patrick Swagger. He did not care for it, but you know what?
I thought he said he didn't. I thought he said he didn't not like it. I did not like it.
Okay. I got fooled by double negatives. Okay.
Yes.
But I was gonna say
he buried
his
the lead on
condemnation
purpose because he's an asshole.
That undercuts my upcoming joke.
I hear what you're saying, Patrick. Patrick, it's DJM. I pick up what you're putting down.
It did ruin my upcoming joke, which was Patrick's in condemnation might be its biggest
Compliment.
Brain does not work. What? I need to
Take
get back on my meds.
All I've been doing for the past like week is fucking scrolling. Indeed, my friend, trust me, I understand your brain not working.
Yeah, I need to get back.
I'm white. I've told like 40 people I'm white.
Yeah, go check those things out.
The economy is not well.
Mm-hmm. Go check out the album. Be sure to get ready for next week. But that'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can of course find us all over the internet. Rebelli.net for all of our stuff. Recordbreakers.fun to go directly to the episode links and show notes and whatnot. Rebelli TV on YouTube to watch the episodes on video and watch all the VODs for our streams. Check us out on our Rebelli TV on Twitch to check out the live recordings and all of our other streams, including our GM mode playthroughs, our Through the Tomes, our D&D show, and whatever other streams I'm thinking about. Again, I'm always threatening to get back and getting into a streaming schedule, but who knows what's going to happen. Duolingo is yelling at me because I've been neglecting. I might just uninstall it. That's it. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo, baby.
Bye-bye. At this point, Duolingo feels more like a chore than something that's teaching me anything. Annyeong.
I uninstalled mine months ago.
Fight.
I never started.
Crying nut.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.